Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the series on the Black Pearl. This is the 1985 300 SD. Now, in the last video, you saw the undercarriage inspection, and I've gone ahead and ordered thousands of dollars of brakes, bearings, suspension components, shocks, and all that should be here this week. However, in the video today, I'm going to focus on the wood trim because I want to send some of this wood trim off to be redone. And that process takes about a month to get that back. So I want to go ahead and do that first in the video, first in the restoration or refurbishment series. So by the time I'm done with all the other stuff, the wood will have returned. So this video is going to be the disassembly video. I'm going to take the wood trim out of the car, and I'm also going to disassemble all the front suspension. I might get to the rear shocks, I don't know, depending on how long the video is, but we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, guys, let's go ahead, go inside the car here, and I'll show you why I'm going to refinish some of this wood trim. Now, at first glance, you would say, wow, that's beautiful condition. I know it's a little dark. Yeah, there we go. But let me zoom in and show you some details. Okay, guys, we can see this beautiful condition. All of this absolutely beautiful original condition. However, we get right up here and there's a split in the wood right there. And if we go over here, there's also a split in the wood right there. And on this, 50,000 mile car, that's not going to fly. So I'm going to refinish all this. I'm going to remove this piece all the way across here. And anyway, we're going to package this up and send it all out to Madeira Concepts. Okay, we're going to have to remove the gauge cluster to get to some retaining nuts that are back here holding the wood on. Also, we need to remove the AC vent here and on the passenger side to get access to a retaining nut that is right over here that actually holds this side piece on. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I know you guys can't see this in the camera, but right down in here are some spring-loaded clips. If you just pry that clip out, that allows you to remove the vent. There we go. All right, we'll just set this over here in the center console. And I'll show you where this little nut is. I'll zoom in on it later, but it's actually right down in there. So let me go ahead and get the one on the passenger side. It removes the same way. All right, and here's why we want to do the wood over here. You see right there where the lamination starting to come loose right there? And we just want to send it all off to be refinished to clean up stuff like that. That way it'll be mint condition once it's reinstalled. Now, I'm on the passenger side of the car. Here's this tab I was telling you about. See this tab right here? If you just go in there, see you can pry, see how that comes out? And that releases a little peg, which then releases this side. And there's another one right here. We'll do it on that side. And then we can pull that side out. There we go, very easy to do. Okay, if you look down in here, you see there's where the little peg is. That's where there's actually some grease in there that lubricates it so that the vent can turn up and down. And let's wipe that off. All right, you guys can barely see it. There is a plastic nut there. This hole right here is where that spring-loaded tab was, and you pull the peg out of that hole and that hole right there, and that's how it's released. And then of course there's your AC ductwork back there. Okay, so to get this out, I think that's a 7mm. However, I lost my 7mm, so I'm using a 9/32, and that fits on there the same. There we go. Now you can turn these by hand because they're plastic. They're just little plastic nuts, and I'll show you what they look like. All right, there we go. And there's a stud that runs through there and attaches right here, and that's what's holding your trim piece on. And this stuff is very fragile. Okay, there we go. There it is right there. Let me show you guys what that looks like. All it is a little plastic nut. And now that stud, you can see there's the stud. Now there is a washer over there too, and that'll usually fall out when I pull this piece off. All right, next thing we want to do, we want to get this piece detached here, because all this is getting sent off together. And to do that, we just want to remove these screws here and these screws right here. These go into a wood block that retains this piece on here, and the other screws hold the handle on right here. So let me go ahead and do that. Screw. This will remove the latch assembly. And you usually don't have to take it all the way out. All right, now I'm going to take these two over here, right here, and that will free up the wood trim on the front of the glove box. All right, there we go. There we go. So now we can send this off. We can see this one has come delaminated, which is common, but you can glue that back in place. But we're going to go ahead and send it off all together to have it all professionally refinished, just so it's all mint condition. Now, there's one more plastic nut behind this piece, and to get access to it, you actually have to remove the glove box liner. Let me go ahead and put these screws back in here so I don't lose these. Here's the wood blocks that the screws were going into. You just have some little plastic clips, and you can actually pry those up with a screwdriver, and they actually remove, they pop out of the car. All right, and we have to remove our light. We'll just pull that down, and we'll disconnect. There we go, we'll disconnect the positive and negative from the back of the light. There we go. And we'll just leave our light in the glove box, and we'll put it in the center console here. Okay, let me get my trim tool to pop these little plastic rivets out. Okay, here's a little trim tool that I use. See, has a little notch there, and that makes it easy to kind of just put right in there, and then you can pry the piece out. And all it is a little plastic peg. And when you pry those out, you can get the glove box out. Now that we have all those little pieces out, we can pry away the front of the glove box here and down here at the bottom and pull this guy out. Sometimes it takes a second. There we go. And this is your glove box liner. There we go. And there's our glove box liner. So we'll just set that down here in the floorboard, right around the back side, and I'm touching the stud. It's right here. We have to get our little socket back behind here, and you have to just do it by feel. Okay, there we go. I'm on it. All right, I need to get a little ratchet. Okay, here's the little ratchet that I use, and I've got some extensions, and we're just going to find out which one goes back there the best. All right, let's see if that one's going to fit. There we go. That one got it. Okay, got it. There we go. And I got the nut off the back. Now we want to press our little stud over here. Okay, there we go. There's that stud that just came off of. So this piece can be now sent out to be professionally refinished. You can see it looks great right here. The staining is really good. It's just we got a little delamination and cracking over here. And we see there's one little crack right there. And you know, this might be fine for a daily driver, but not for a Woods and Barclay restoration. This right here, guys, is why I like finding these low mileage cars. If you look, it's obvious this has never been opened, and look at the condition of everything back in here. Just immaculate. That's how it was assembled from the factory, never been tampered with. Okay, next we want to work on this piece that goes across here. So the first thing we want to do, how this is retained, is there's 3 little screws right here. Now I'm going to show them to you. There you go. There's 1, 2, and there's the 3rd one. And you just roll your vents back a little bit. You can get right up in there, and we can take these out. So I'm going to stop recording so I can use both hands to make sure I don't drop this little screw. We're just going to take that one out, and that one out. And then that releases this piece. All right, to get the piece off from this side, we have to remove our gauge cluster. And there's also some things I want to do to the gauge cluster. I want to clean it up a little bit and check everything out on it. So we're going to put our tools through here. There we go. There we go. Now I just get the connections. Scoot the seat forward here. Now I just need to get the connections out on the back. Okay. There we go. We have our gauge cluster out. Now, back behind here there are screws to get this wood piece off, and they are, yeah, it's right there. And let's see the other one. They're right back there. This is a very difficult job because you can't see. There's the other one right there. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and get to those in a second. Let's get this gauge cluster over onto the bench. There, I'm on it. There we go. It's coming undone right now. Imagine putting this back on, how tough this is. Because, guys, from the factory, this stuff was assembled out of the car, and then it was installed in the car. So it's a little tricky doing it with it in the car. Boom. And I did not drop it. So there's one. All right, the other one is right there. Now, if you drop the little nut, guys, you can take the under dash panel out, and you know, it'll fall down on your carpet. You can get it back out of there. All right, got that one out. Okay, then we're gonna go right back, right there to the far left. And we need to get our little socket right in there. Come on. Okay, there we go. And we'll turn that out. Good. There we go. Got that plastic nut out there. You can see I'm dropping everything right down here. Now, the final thing we need to do to get this wood off is we need to pull off our headlight switch. And this is just pressed on. Okay, we're just going to wrap a towel around there. That way we don't damage it. And we'll put our channel locks on there. There we go. And guys, we didn't damage anything. That's why I put the towel there. And behind here, there's a 24mm nut. We have to undo that. And it's usually hand tight, but yeah, this one has never been out. So let me get my ratchet. There we go. Just loosen it up there. And now that nut can come off. And that is the last thing to detach our wood trim. Now it's just a matter of getting it off of here. And there's a way to do that. I'm going to put this 24mm nut over here. Okay, there we go. So you got to start from this side. Now, this is going to be hard to display on camera, but right here at the bottom of the wood trim is a little tab. So, and that goes into this plastic piece. So what you got to do is you have to insert a like a little jeweler's screwdriver right there, and you got to twist it up to release that tab. And then at the same time, you got to come behind it and with another screwdriver and twist forward, and then that will pop it out of the slot that's holding it on there. So I don't think I can do this on camera, but I'll just show you when I'm done. All right, this is going to be very difficult to record for you guys, but we put a screwdriver there to pry it out of the slot. There we go. Then I got to stick a screwdriver behind there to move it forward once it's out of the slot. And there we go. All right, you see how I just got that out of the slot? Now, this is free to come off down the rest of this way, and then we can pull it off from that side. So let me go ahead and work this loose. Now that I have this loose from the dash, I want to show you that little tab I was talking about. Right there. See that little tab? That little tab presses down into that little slot right back here. So in order to get that detached, you have to press up to get that tab to come loose, and then pull forward, and then you can see it comes out of here. We're now loose, and we're loose all the way down through here. Now, also, you see here around this plastic ignition surround, see there's your ignition. There's these two plastic clips right there, and they clip around this plastic piece that's still attached to the dash. So what you do, you reach around behind here, and you just flip and kind of push from the back side on these little plastic tabs to break that loose, because that comes out with the wood piece. And what we're dealing with now, so this piece actually comes off with the wood, but remember we have a stud right here holding this end piece on. So what we have to do, and this is all loose, we have to get in there and push that stud out. Okay, there we go. So we got to push, there we go. So I pushed it towards the door to get that stud, and there's the stud right there. And now we have our trim piece successfully out of the car. All right, and there we go. We have all of the dash trim removed from the vehicle, and I'm going to get that boxed up and shipped off to Madeira Concepts. All right, hey guys, welcome back. It's a couple of days later. I have all the original wheels and tires loaded in the truck here. I'm going to run them up to the tire shop and get some fresh tires on there on the original wheels. And we have the car up in the air, and as mentioned in at the beginning of the video, today is going to be suspension disassembly day. All of this stuff is coming off the car, and I'll record that process as I go. And in the next video, what you want to stay for the next video, here are boxes full of brand new parts that I've ordered. So in the next video, we're going to do an unboxing and show you all this beautiful new stuff that's going to go on the car. So let's go ahead and get started out here at the hub. And I'll go ahead and just walk you through the process. We're going to take off our grease cap here, take our spindle nut off, take our caliper off. Now, these are the original calipers and hoses, so I'm just going to let those hang here. Doesn't matter if they're hanging because we're replacing all these original hoses. And we'll take our hub off, and this is a old rotor. You can see there's a groove there. We're going to get our shocks out of here. Under here, we're going to undo these tie rods. Now, I would like to keep the tie rod like sleeve here, because, you know, there's nothing wrong with these guys, and these are original to the car. So I thought it'd be cool to keep the sleeve, but then just unscrew the actual ball joints or tie rod ends and screw in brand new tie rod ends, therefore preserving these original sleeves, which would be cool. We're also going to take out the center link steering shock, and we're also going to take our steering knuckle off, so we can replace the ball joints under here. So this is a little bit of a process, but let's go ahead and get started. And I think Jefferson is ready to go to the tire shop. Jefferson, what are you doing in the truck, buddy? I'm in the garage. We're not going to the tire shop today. Come on out here. Come on. Why are you hanging out in the truck? Come on, let's go in the shop. All right, let's get to it, guys, now that we have our helper available. All right, so what we're going to do first, we're going to go ahead and knock off this grease cap. There we go. And yeah, I can see it is well greased in here. But we're going to go ahead and repack all these bearings. Now, that right there is your radio interference pin that goes in the end. So we'll go ahead and pull this guy out. And we'll wipe this grease off of here. And there's our spindle nut. That's just a 5mm to take that loose. All right, there you go, that's loose. Now, we don't want to completely take off the spindle yet, because first I want to undo my brakes. Okay, the brakes back here, there's just two 19mm. Go ahead and break those loose. All right, now before we take that all the way out, we want to do this 10mm bolt right here that holds the brake pad wear sensor in there. All right, we'll just go ahead and spin that guy out of there. And let's detach our brake pad wear sensors from it. There we go. Now I just like to leave the bolt in the sensor, or in the harness there. There we go. And we can just leave that hanging by the side there. All right, and we're gonna throw all this away because we're getting all new hardware with the new Ate brakes. Let's see if this is gonna come off of here. So sometimes with these old brakes, you have a lip on the rotor, and so you have to put a crowbar or a pry bar under here to pry it over the lip and get it off of there. And you just stick it right under here. There we go. Pry that guy off of here. All right, and that's just gonna hang here. Put our sensor back over there. There we go. Now we can go ahead and take our spindle nut off of here and remove our hub and rotor. Oh, there we go. All right, next thing we want to do, wow, look how good that looks. That's the original dust shield. The bolts here are still zinc plated. All right, let's go ahead and get that dust shield off of here, and that is also a 5mm. Okay, what we also need to do There you go. There's a bracket right here we need to undo because that bracket holds the ABS sensor to the back of this dust shield. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to stick that little bolt back into the back of the dust shield so I don't lose it. All right, I'm just checking out our hub here. I mean, yeah, this has only got 50,000 miles on it. I'm sorry, our spindle. Obviously, it's in excellent condition. So let's go ahead now. I need to start detaching all these tie rod linkages. And so we got to pop it loose here. And then over here, over here, over here. We got to go all the way across. I'm going to do one just to show you how you do it. All right, this nut here is a 17 millimeter. We'll just go ahead and remove that. And all this is getting thrown away, except for the sleeves. I'm going to reuse those and put in new tie rod ends. So now that it's loose like that, or that the nut is off, we want to put a little ball joint separator on there. All right, guys, the ball joint separator just squeezes right over there. And to take up the slack, I don't want that angle to be so sharp. I just put in a little spacer right here. There we go, right like that. We tighten that back down. And that is, I think, a 24 millimeter. I just need to run an impact on that, and that'll pop that right off. All right, there we go. Our tie rod is off. Now, I need to go do that on all the other ones. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I just want to show you right here. This is the steering shock, and you'll notice I took the nut and bolt out of where it mounts to the frame bracket, and then I put it back through there because we want to reuse that when we put our new steering shock back on. So just wanted to point that out. Make sure you save that. Also, over on this side, we want to save the nut and bolt here that attaches it to the center link. Let me back up so you can see where I'm at. I'm directly under the car in the center. This is the center link, or the drag link. And we want to reuse that nut and bolt when we attach our new shock to our new drag link. So make sure you save this also. And we want to take off that nut, 17 millimeter. Got to get a wrench on top of it. There we go. Oh, not quite. There we go. All right. Now we want to save that bolt, so what I like to do is just pop it out of here. And then when we take out our steering shock, which just pulls out of there, I just put it back in our old center link so I'll know where it is when I need it later. All right, and here's our old steering shock we're taking out now. There we go. I'll just show you the ball joint separator one more time. We're on the passenger side of the center link. There we go. See how it just popped off there? Now I need to move over here and get this side out using the same method. Okay, we have all of our steering linkage removed from under here, and you can see right down here on the floor, starting from the driver's side, we have our hub, rotor, bearings, dust shield, outer tie rod. There's the center link we were just showing. There's our steering shock, tie rod, rotor, hub, bearing, dust shield on the passenger side. There we go. I'm a perfect example of why you need to remove your suspension parts. Look at that steering shock. Not doing a damn thing. All right, now what I didn't show in the previous video is our guide rod mounts. There you go. See our guide rod bushing there? It's all crusty, and there you go. It's just breaking apart. And that is this entire assembly. And it basically completes the A-arm, two of the lower control arms. So we have our lower control arm comes down right there and then crosses over that bar to our guide rod mount right there. And I'll show it to you over here. There we go. See our guide rod mount. Arm runs up into the guide rod bushing, and there you go. See, it's just all crusty, and that's 40 years old. So we're going to go ahead and remove the guide rod mounts. Now, to do that, first we want to remove the cross member right here, and that's just 3 bolts here that screw into the bottom of the guide rod housing or guide rod bushing assembly. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so to get the cross member out, it's just 3 17 millimeter on each side. Now I'm going to leave that one a little loose in there so it doesn't fall out. All right, here it comes. All right. Then we'll take our final one out here. There we go. All right, now we don't want to lose our bolts, so I'm just going to run those back up in there. All right, guys, at this point we have all our steering linkage removed all the way across, and you can see there's the bolts I put back in for the cross member. So there's all the parts we've removed. And now we need to go ahead and we want to remove these steering knuckles here and get the shocks out. Now, to do that, we're going to have to compress the spring and then get the spring out of the car, because once you detach the shock and the upper control arm to the steering knuckle, nothing is holding that shock in the car. So this is the process where you want to be very, very careful. So let's go ahead and remove this spring. All right, in order to remove our bushing here, it actually installs from the back side right here. We take that plate off and push in a new bushing. But we have to remove the assembly, and you can see there's a bolt here and a bolt here, and these go up into these, see this tab here? There's a caged nut in there. You can actually pull the nut out because it's attached to this tab. We need to get those 2 bolts out right there on both sides of the car. Now, sometimes when removing these, the caged nut will actually break and start spinning, and then you have to like cut the tab off and drill it out. And we have all replacement parts in case that happens, but maybe we'll get lucky and this one won't break. All right, cool. That one didn't break. We got one out. All right, great. Neither one of them broke. That means they're in really good shape and it wasn't rusty up in there. And yeah, look at the condition of those bolts, guys. They've like never seen the light of day. They're still perfect condition with all the zinc plating on them. Now, what we've accomplished here is this assembly. There you go. See, that assembly is now loose from the vehicle. And we need to go ahead and, because this is going to ultimately unscrew right here from this guide rod, and we can take it out of the car. Let's go ahead and do the other side. I'll be right back. And by the way, what we were just talking about, this is what separates the 126 chassis, the 300 SD, from the 123 or the 300D, is this assembly right here. On the 300D, we do not have this assembly for the guide rod mount or guide rod bushing. The bushing is built into the frame of the car. Where on the 116, you can remove the entire assembly. I'm sorry, not the 116. On the 126, you can remove the entire assembly. The 116 doesn't have any of this. It's a completely different design. You guys can see how that was mounted. See, goes up, look at that, you can still see the cosmoline wax up in there. There we go. That plugs onto there and right there. And this whole assembly. There you go. See how it pivots on that bushing there? So anyway, let's go take out the other side. All right, guys, here we have our spring compressor. We have the pucks that go in the spring, and we have the compressor that goes down through the spring and compresses. And this one's like $900. This is the one that the dealerships use. It's made by Klon or Jadori. And if you're not doing this like all the time, you can probably get away with like the $150 Amazon or eBay one. But if you have to do this a lot, guys, you got to have the nice one because this is a very dangerous job. All right, guys, there's our spring that's under a lot of tension. And first we're going to insert our puck down here at the bottom. There we go. And then our puck up here at the top, like that. Now I need to go drop in our compressor down through the hole in the top. All right, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there we go. Right there is a hole where we can drop our compressor down. There we go. There we go. All right, now I need to get it adjusted and locked in place. All right, I'm going to go ahead and undo the upper ball joint from the upper control arm there and undo our shock. Now you notice I have a jack under the car. That's just for safety because once we compress that spring, we shouldn't need the jack. But if something goes wrong and that spring, tries to decompress, the jack is going to hold that control arm in place and keep it compressed. We just want to be touching that. All right, there we go. Our lower control arm is on the jack, so that's a safety measure. All right, this nut right here is a 17 millimeter, and then we need to undo our shock at the top with a 17 millimeter. All right, got that undone. All right, we have our spring compressor in place. Watch what happens when I compress it. All right, guys, and there we go. That spring is now compressed, and we can see the base of the spring has lifted off the spring perch right here. So that means it's not touching it, it's not under pressure, and we can remove that from the car. Now, first, let's go ahead and up here, we need to undo the two nuts on the top of our shock. All right, it's kind of hard to see, but I have a wrench coming through underneath all that mess, and I'm holding that nut. Now, see if I can get this off of here. Let's move all this stuff out of the way. There we go. All right, we got the top nut off. Now, if we're lucky, that bottom one is going to spin freely off of there. See if this one's going to play nice. Yes, it did. When those get stuck on there and the shock spins, it's a real pain in the butt to get them off of there. All right, our shock is disconnected. We'll go ahead and remove our upper bushing and cover plate up here. God, there's not a lot of room to get back here on the 126 chassis. There we go. Now, I like to keep these upper bushings because the bushings that come with a new Bilstein shock are brand new. This is already like formed and molded to where it goes, and they always install way easier. And guys, there's usually nothing ever wrong with that upper shock bushing. I mean, you can see it's fine. There's no reason to replace that. So I like to hold on to these, and I like to replace the one under the car. All right, see, I got some grease around there, and now it just slips right over there, and the grease helps it slip over there so it doesn't mess up that boot. Put our little spacer in here, and then get our, I think it's 24 millimeter, and we'll pop that loose. Now, I did raise the car a little bit, so it's no longer resting on that jack stand, but our spring is compressed, so that's okay. We're going to remove that spring in a second. All right. Oh, there we go. Just popped loose. So our upper control arm is now loose. See if I can get enough leverage under here. So, all right, let's see if I can do this. Pull that down. All right, there we go. And our shock is also loose, and our spring is also loose. So let's go ahead and get our spring out of here. All right, guys, this is probably the worst part about working on these cars. We're gonna get this spring out of here. Not yet. It's got to come down a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, almost. Oh God, there we go. Jesus. Oh, that's so nerve-wracking. All right, let's get this out of here. All right, guys, there's that fucker right there. That is a tremendous amount of potential energy if that were to come loose. So trick is you set that away from yourself and you just don't touch it till it's time to go back in the car. All right, let's move back over here. Now, you can see we can get access to the spring perch. Looks like a little cap when somebody was, I don't know what that cap is. Must have fallen down in between the spring and landed there. That doesn't go on the car though. Anyway, we have our spring perch. We can remove that, get that all cleaned up. We can get our shock disconnected. We can get our ball joint nut down here off so we can take off our steering knuckle. But right here, what we want to do is remove, right here is a 5mm, and that is our anti-lock brake sensor. And you can see if I move this back up here, I don't know if you guys are going to see that. Yeah, right there. See that little, see if I can get the focus. Yeah, that little nub. That's our anti-lock brake sensor. So we'll clean that up. And what that sensor does, if we look, let me take out our bearing because we're going to repack and reuse these bearings because there's nothing wrong with them. All right. If we turn our hub over, we can see on the 85 model, the back of the hub, see it has those little like notches all the way around it. The 84 and earlier do not have that. It's just smooth. And what those little notches do, they pass by, let's see, this sensor here, which we're going to clean off. And that little sensor, see there's a notch in it, and it like registers those notches, and that operates the anti-lock brakes. I don't know more about it than that. So let's go ahead and get that sensor out of here. And some of the original like insulation around it has come off. The wires are good, but I want to go ahead and rewrap that with some fresh insulation. We're going to break that loose, and we'll remove this sensor because we need to remove the steering knuckle. All right, let me get my electric. All right, and that's the same type of bolt that holds on your dust shield. You know, in case you lose it, you can grab, you know, from a parts car or whatnot. That's the type of bolt it is. There we go. And we'll clean this up. There we go. That's your anti-lock brake sensor. All right, we'll just put this over here, let it hang, and we're going to remove all this and clean everything up, of course, in the parts washer. All right, next thing we want to do is get our ball joint nut off of there. There we go. That's a 24mm. And then we want to get our ball joint separator and get remove this from the lower control arm. All right, guys, I've showed this many times in the videos. Here's our lower ball joint separator. Impala Man, if you haven't seen his channel, go check it out. He has a great 126 restoration series. But it's OTC. Impala Man found this tool and it works great. It's just a small pitman arm puller. OTC 8149. Works on 123s, 116s, 126s, all chassis. And we just put that around there. There's a spike right here that plugs into the ball joint. All right. And then we just need to get our impact and tighten that down. Now, it's important, guys, that you hold your steering knuckle when you do this. Otherwise, it will fall on the ground. There we go. Our steering knuckle is now removed. All right, guys, next we need to remove our shock. Now, there's a 10mm right here. And then if we just fold our shock all the way down, there's a 10mm behind it. And these are going to go in the trash. We have new hardware with our Bilstein shocks. The one thing we do want to save which doesn't ever really tear up. Ooh, nice. That bump stop is in good condition. So I'm going to actually save that bump stop. And we want to clean up and save the shock covers, because Bilstein sends a rubber cover. But if you want your car to look all original, you put on this like hard plastic cover that Mercedes used. And this one is in perfect condition. All right, let's go ahead. And next we want to remove our spring perch. Okay guys, keep in mind all of this is getting cleaned up and refinished. It's getting cleaned in the parts washer and refinished in the semi-gloss black. Now our spring perch is 3 13mm bolts. These electric tools, guys, are amazing. For like a decade I was using hand tools, and these just completely changed the ball game. All right, I'll go ahead and put our bolts back in there because I don't want to lose those. Okay, but what we see now, this is our control rod that goes back. Remember our housing that we removed back here? Well, to get that housing off, we need to remove the front of the control rod from the lower control arm. And I think that's a 19mm nut on the bottom. Let me check. All right, there we go. Now we can usually tap that out or run it out with our impact. Get our nut out of here. There we go. It's coming. There it goes. All right. Now, let me show you how this works. All right, let's get that out of here. Okay, this is a really cool design. So we have a bushing here, and guys, I've like never seen one of these go bad. We have a bushing there, and then on the bottom, there's one just like it. And there's a little tab right there. Well, that tab tells you where to align it, because remember our control rod's stuck right through there. And there's a notch on the bushing for the control rod to go through. So that tab, you align it right there. And then on the top and bottom, you have these steel pucks. See, they're like these steel pucks. And that puck goes down in there like that. And then the one on the bottom, you know, it looks the same on the bottom, goes through the bottom. And that's what holds that front control rod in there. So we'll just temporarily put that back together. Okay. So we are done assembling all of the suspension except for what you just saw here on the passenger side. All right, you can see, and again, these lower control arm bushings, absolutely no reason whatsoever to change those. It would be a complete waste of time. Those have, I mean, 100,000 miles left on them easily. Same goes for up here. That would be just stupid for me to replace that. Now, what you can see though, here's everything we have removed. Shock, there's our steering knuckle because we want to get access to that old ball joint. See that crusty old ball joint under there? But this is what we just removed. That's the assembly for the guide rod bushing. And that's what just came out where those little pucks were. And there's our, remember that was under the car right there where our cross member attached. And this is what we want to replace this bushing. The back of it comes off and you can put a new bushing in there. So we have to do that on the other side of the car. And all this stuff's going to get cleaned up. We're, of course, throwing away our rotor because we're doing new rotors. And then all our new linkages. But so everything you saw just now, I have to do all of that on this side of the car. Now, I only have one spring compressor. So I have to stop and start reassembly on the driver's side and get that back together before I can disassemble this side. So anyway, that is it for the disassembly video. Now the next video is what you're really going to enjoy. That is when we're unboxing, I don't know, there's like 7 boxes of parts, all brand new stuff that's going under here. and I'm going to be reassembling all of it, and it's going to look brand new underneath here when I'm done. So I realized we didn't get to the back of the car, but I'm just going to save the rear of the car for another video, and we'll stick with this just the front suspension for this video. I hope you learned something in the disassembly video, and especially how to remove that wood trim. That's a very tedious task. So anyway, we will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.